Yeah, so I'm finishing up a short spur right away that I got going on last night. And I want to use this to show and talk about some of the techniques that I use that I feel make me more productive and efficient when I'm cutting right away. And again, this is, I guess I'm kind of thinking about somebody who maybe is interested in running buncher, or maybe is just getting started on it. Just kind of hoping maybe I can offer some suggestions that work well for me and might work well for them. I also want to take this opportunity, I think, to talk some about cutting right away. I think any buncher operator has had the unfortunate circumstance of cutting a unit that the right-of-way was cut out with what looks to be a nuclear warhead. Sometimes that wood's still on the ground. You gotta deal with the aftermath. It just makes what sometimes a difficult job really difficult, and I just don't think there's any call for it. Unfortunately, I think that it's an example of investor-driven forestry where all the focus is on cost and no consideration is given to the value of whatever service is being performed. So, and again, some of these techniques that I use help avoid some of those problems. So here we go. So what I'm doing right now, I just kind of created what I call or think of as a pocket, and it's actually outside the right-of-way itself. This is a single track spur, so in this area 60 feet is kind of the normal cutting width for a right-of-way. And so this is very gentle ground, which always makes it easier. So as you can see, by cutting out a little pocket, it gives me an easy shot to lay the wood down. And it only takes a minute or two to do it. You pick kind of a good looking area and grab a tree or two or three or four, whatever it takes to open it up. As you can see, this stand, it is nice ground, super nice ground, kind of unusual. But it's kind of a mixed wood stand, quite a lot of alder. And alder is really difficult to fall into because it tends to have wow or sweep to it. And there's just no way you can fall into that neatly in an organized fashion, save wood out without creating a little pocket. So that's what I'm doing again here. I picked a likely looking hole, cutting down some of the trees right there, narrow out at the back, a little bit broader at the front to give me a good hole to lay my wood down in. So with a 60-foot right-of-way, even on gentle ground like this is, but particularly on a side hill or mid-slope road, which is unfortunately kind of like what we're normally working on, and oftentimes quite steep, you got to pack your wood to create a full 60-foot opening for the right-of-way. And sometimes you need a little bit more, if it's real steep, they're going to have a cut bank and an outslope. And it's important to give the road builders room enough. So by having a good hole or pocket, as I think of them, I don't have to carry wood all the way up to it. I can, get close enough and I can throw it. And that's a real time saver, I think. I feel like it makes me much more efficient. So again, that's another advantage to creating a little hole for each bundle. I also think it's really important in a right-of-way or even just your day-to-day cutting to cut everything. I like to cut all my brush, give myself a good line of sight, and that way I don't have to worry about drill poke and the guys following me up, whatever that might be, aren't going to have to worry about it either. You can see what's on the ground, see what's coming, and it's just a good technique, I think. And another thing about right-of-way, I think it's really important from a road building standpoint that you give them the room that they need, kind of you vary that a little bit, like if it's real steep ground or a bad corner or something like that, you need to give them just a hair more. But at the same time, when you're building your bundles, I think it's really important that you consider how the wood's going to be accessed, when the processor works in behind and gets it picked up. Ideally, the processor would be picking it up, shortly after the road's built, so when the road is fresh and tender. And so you don't want to put the wood too far out of reach so that the processor has to squirrel around on a fresh road and tear it all up. So I cut a full width, whatever the engineers are asking for, and I try to leave the bundles accessible, and to me that means just slightly, inside of the tree line on the uphill side. And the bundle should be thrown uphill, perpendicular to the road, and close enough so that the processor can access them. And if the butts are at or slightly inside the tree line, the processor will be able to grab them no problem, and the road builder is not going to be impacted by that. And again, having a pocket where you can lay in good straight bundles, quickly and efficiently, that also is going to mean that the processor is going to be able to get it, save it, work up every stick and get good recovery. So, yeah, so these are some things I like to do, and they've worked well for me. I think probably most guys are doing similarly, but again, just wanted to kind of have some suggestions here for somebody wondering, you know, about how it's done or good ways to do it. So I guess one final note, the packing up the hill or across the right-of-way is, it's time consuming, but it's important to get the full width. And also it allows you to work within the cutting reach of the machine. And in the long term, that's really important. You don't want to be overextending all the time trying to get wood. It's hard on the cylinders and the components of the boom and stick. So that's another reason why I generally end up cutting out a pocket and then working a little chunk into that pocket perpendicular to the right-of-way. Yeah, so anyhow, there you have it. A few thoughts. Hope you find it interesting. And good cutting to you.